Another episode of League One on the rocks. No off season. Man, this is the kind of life that we love to live. Today was day one or League One day one. So we brought in some special guests to help us break down all of the transaction news. Uh, my name is Rich. You can find me on Twitter at I'm Rich, but I'm not. Joined as always by Brian. You can find him on Twitter at Mediocre Ace. Brian, how's it going?
Oh, it's going good. Just another day, but it was really cool to see all the stuff going on for League One Day One yet again. Favorite time of the
Nice.
year.
And if you are watching live here on YouTube, you see some beautiful men there on the other side of the screen. We got Tyler on Twitter. You can find him at Crane Kicks Less. Yes, get that going. And then we also have Ed. You can find him on the Fuego Pod. He's also on Twitter and all that kind of stuff. So check those guys out. Follow them. They got the news coming out of Lexington Sporting Club and Central Valley Fuego. So definitely follow those guys. Guys, how are we doing?
I'm doing awesome. I'm feeling really good. I'm not going to get into too much as to how the club impacted my feelings for the day because I know we're going to get there. But I'm feeling solid because of that. I told you guys before the show, I got to go to my son's kindergarten class and drink some cocoa, and make a gingerbread house before I went to work. So that was kind of cool, and see him act like a normal human with other kids as opposed to fighting with his brother like he likes to do. So that was a whole new dynamic, and it was nice to see. But it was a good day. Feeling good.
Nice. Ed, how about you?
Doing well. Just enjoying. It was 58 today, 60 degrees today, something like that. So kind of nice. Where it's a California winter, where like you like start the day with like a light coat, and then by like 11 o'clock, you're like, oh, it's hot.
Yep.
Later in the night, I'll be like, oh, it's cold again, but whatever. So I'm just enjoying life that way.
We have a fan that routinely tunes into the show, Soup Loops. When he joined, I don't know if he's joining right now. Let me check over on there. But he and I were texting back and forth yesterday, and it was funny because he was talking about what winters are like there in Statesboro, Georgia. And he was saying you can get away with a jacket and shorts all winter long. You're not going to need any like snow pants or anything like that. And I was thinking, oh, that must be nice.
Snow pants. What the hell are snow pants?
I've been
Remember
getting up.
those from Minnesota?
Yeah. I've been getting up this morning having to scrape my windshield before I go to work in the morning. So, oh gosh. Well, guys, what are we drinking tonight? Are you guys bringing the adult beverages tonight? Or are we going water?
Uh, I'm rolling with water, but I got it in a West Six Brewing local brewery
Hey,
glass. So I don't know, got to like best of both worlds.
there you go. Yeah, that's all right.
I've got a Dream in Digital by Insiderati Brewing. They're out
Very
of
cool.
yeah.
Is that one of the oh, what do they call them? The non-alcoholic that Leah was
No, no,
hyping?
no,
Oh, okay.
no. This is a 7% IPA.
Hey,
So
there you go. 7%. All right.
Nice.
Brian, how
Very
about you?
nice. Um, I have water in front of me, but I also have my Riegers down here. You might see me take a few sips out of it here every once in a
Yeah.
while. So good night for it.
Uh,
Good occasion.
Another friend of the pod, Allison, got back from Alaska recently, so she got me some Monk's Mistress. There, I think
Nice.
it's Anchorage. Yeah, Anchorage, Alaska. So
That's cool.
yeah,
That's really
looking
cool.
forward to
I like
diving into
that
this.
bottle a lot. It's pretty cool.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's one of those bottles where it has the kind where you have to pop the top off rather than twisting off. But I
Yeah.
always feel like such a wuss when I try to turn it. I don't know if I'm just weak or if it's truly like testing my feat of strength. So
Just be like one of my buddies. He would always use his teeth,
Oh
and it
god.
would make us
Oh,
cringe. We're like, "Why are you doing that?" And he's just like, "It's fine." And I'm like, "That's not fine, dude. One of these days you're gonna chip a tooth." And he still hasn't. So I don't know what's going on with him. But
man,
I would have lost all of my teeth long ago if I started doing that.
I don't know how he hasn't. It makes me like just cringe every time I see it. I'm like, "Oh my gosh, please don't do that."
did any of you guys partake in any of the Black Friday or Cyber Monday deals for your club?
Yeah, I got a little bit of merch. Actually, my family, my mom and dad, they're not big soccer people at all, but they're finally starting to embrace it. They were like, "Hey, will you get us some LSE merch this year?" And I was like, "Heck yeah, I will." So as soon as they
Nice.
drop those sales, I started loading stuff up. I even got myself something, but we don't need to worry about that. But yeah, it was good. It was nice to see a few deals drop and get some of that merch in.
That's cool.
Yeah, I didn't. We've they've been having so much of their stuff on sale anyway. So like we've been trying to figure out if we're changing uh kit brands or what, because like all the
Oh,
Capelli stuff's been on sale for like quite a
Mm.
while now. So, but I
interesting.
kind of got everything already that I had wanted. So I'm kind of
Yeah, that's interesting. That's a storyline to keep track of there over at Fuego. I've sent messages to Tyler in the past saying that Lexington has an awesome team store and they have some really cool products. And I will repeat that because I was just looking at their team store here earlier this week and
It's
they
good.
have some cool stuff.
Yeah, gets better each time. Every time
Yeah.
I look, I'm like, oh, I kind of like that, and then I
Yeah.
want to get more. And it's kind of nice too because sometimes they'll have stuff at the team shop at the games, like way before it goes online, or sometimes I don't even see it online. It's just out there, and then it'll appear randomly. But they've got good stuff, especially some of the newer hoodies and stuff are awesome.
Nice. All right. Well, let's jump straight into the League One Day One stuff. I love the fact that we still have this day. I know last year it was a big success. Repeating it again this year. They staggered the announcements this time. They didn't throw it all out there at once. So that was a bit of a difference in this year's format. But let's
Still going on too. I know right before we went on, I got about 4 tweets come out, and I haven't had a chance to look at them yet. So this might not even be fully up to date quite yet.
yeah. My watch was shaking just as we were hitting record too. Um so let's dive into both of your clubs. I mean, you both have signings that were announced today. You both have new coaches for the 24 season. So we
Hmm.
have plenty to talk about there as well. So uh, I don't know who wants to go first, but I mean, how are you feeling about today's transactions?
Go for it, Ed.
sure. You know, well, we laughed because like one of the first ones was Cudis Laval, who I mean, when we signed him last year, late in the season, it was already a multi-year deal, and so that they're like, "Welcome back," and we're like, "No shit." Like, this guy's on like 2 more years with us. Like, okay, I guess it's good to know that he's back. But I mean, overall, like, 3 of the 4 I was pretty excited about. I was really happy. David Diaz, um, a young player that kind of, I think he was with our academy at the start of our first season, and then last year was on the full contract. Um, but he's just a fun kid, very attacking, quick, love his skills. And so, like, when I saw him announced, I was like, great, because we kind of didn't have any clue with, kind of with the new changeover in the coaching and all this stuff. We were just kind of like, who knows who's going to stay with that, and with kind of like as bad as our last season was. So to see a player like Diaz that does really like kind of get it going for me announced today in that first set, I was like, awesome, very excited.
Yeah, and Jose Carrera Garcia getting in there. He had a lot of minutes this past season, um, and ended up with 3 goals this season. So he was a contributor on the field as well. It's good to see him coming back and showing some veteran status with the guys that are going to be coming in.
Yeah, well, and that's I mean, especially he had a lot of minutes, but also, I mean, he missed considerable time because of the visa issue at the start of the year. So there was so long where he was announced and we didn't see him for quite a while, and it was just like, when is this kid going to be able to play for us? And so once that got resolved, it was like, he barely ever. Well, he only came off the field when he was like red card suspension or some stuff like that. But him, and then Omar Lemus was Lemus was the fourth one
Yep.
announced. And I mean, I'll be honest, he was the least exciting to me of those 4, but he's still a good player. So, it's good to see.
And perhaps the biggest signing for your club didn't come today, but it came, a week or two, a few weeks ago, actually. Jermaine Jones being appointed as the head coach. How do you feel about that?
Oh, it's still one of those things where when you talk to like another fan of the team, it's just like, you just kind of look at each other and you're like, you can't believe it. You're like, dude, we got Jermaine Jones. And so everyone's just still kind of like giddy about it now. Obviously, once the season starts and we can see kind of his coaching style and results or preseason stuff. Because right now it's just kind of like, holy cow, this is a dude, like so many people grew up idolizing as a player and respecting as a player, and seeing his passion, to now have him here leading our team is really cool. And it's a name that people know. Whereas like before our coach, Martin Vasquez, it's like that guy has coached around the world, coached for the U.S. national team and stuff like that, but no one knew him, and so it was like, who's Martin Vasquez? Nobody cares. But Jermaine Jones, that's a name. And so I'm really hoping that and his work already in the community is going to ignite some like casual fans to kind of come back and draw in, the people that have never checked it out.
Yeah, I thought that was a great signing for the club. The other thing that really interests me about his signing is the fact that he was such a prolific midfielder, especially as a defensive midfielder. And the midfield, for me, in my opinion, was Central Valley's strength last season. And so for him to be able to have that kind of influence on Fuego's midfield this coming season, I think it's going to pay huge dividends.
One would hope. I mean, Jesus, like we could technically be worse than we were last year, but it would be very hard. So, yeah, I mean, if he can help our midfield, our defensive midfield, as well as, I mean, like our center backs were very good most of the year as well. And so like that spine, if it, to have a coach that knows defense and knows how to play those positions, really set in the spine, teaching those guys how to better bring the ball forward. Because there was plenty of times where we seemed kind of lost on moving it off of like our back lines. So I look forward to it.
Yeah. What are some of the biggest areas that you'd like to see improved on the team?
Well, I mean, so we definitely need to. Well, I mean, we don't know who's coming back yet or signing wise, but forward has been. 2 years ago, we had Christian Cheney with 10 goals. Last year, our top goal scorer was at 9 or 10.
Yeah, 9.
And so it's like, well, that's good. If we had 3 or 4 guys at that level, then obviously that's a team that can challenge and be successful in the league, or to have a singular player that's, more on like the 20, 25 goal range. So we definitely need that to happen. I think honestly, like both of these years, like we've been pretty good defensively. I think we sometimes lack a bit of creativity in the attack. So I'm not sure if Coach Jones is going to focus on that, but it's like maybe that comes with the right set of players, and hopefully, again, talking big name, that might be something that moves the needle on recruiting some players from other clubs that have were up near the top.
So you don't have to reveal any names, but have you heard any rumors about possible transactions happening at the club?
No, like it's been kind of weird because like when Jones was had his first press conference, we actually stood around and talked with him a little bit afterwards, and he was just kind of like talking about the timeline of like when returning players would come back, when the combine was, when they were going to do some select stuff. And so like realistically, this is like we're right now in that time frame of all the stuff he was saying. And so like those sort of, I think those rumor pieces might come out hopefully in the next bit of time, next week or two, of some names that they're looking at, and so hopefully our sources can work their magic and at least give us something to like drool about as we wait.
Yeah. And speaking of the combine, the tryouts I think were just this past weekend, weren't they?
Yeah, it was our open tryout. So, it's that's always a weird one because you never know what caliber of player you're going to get from an open tryout. And obviously, we have a lot of talent in the Central Valley, and I look at the open tryout a lot as a way of maybe seeing like what's going to be in the academy or like the youth sides and stuff like that, more than the starters. But you never know. And the funny reality of like how getting Coach Jones was almost like, I mean, everybody made fun of Fuego when they did like that press release. It was like, "Hey, we're looking for a coach," and I mean, we made fun of it too because it was Jesus. that's not the way you kind of want to look. But that kind of helped us get Coach Jones, I think, because like, you know, it was like he heard about it through Frank Yallop. I'm not sure exactly if we were putting out feelers out to Yallop or something, but you know, I have very strong negative feelings for Frank Yallop, and I'll leave those alone right now. But hey, you know what? For whatever reason, the team being open and honest about, hey, we're looking, and maybe we don't have all the right connections, got us exposed to this guy who then is now our coach. So an open tryout, maybe there is a player that's, you know, almost done with college, or you know, in one of the colleges in California, sees the chance to play for a former U.S. national player, and you know, drives up for the open tryout type stuff. So, but the kids they featured in the highlights, or in like the little, they did some little promo stuff with it, were all more probably academy level kids, I think.
Yeah. And that brings me up to the next topic, because Jermaine Jones, Coach Jones, has actually been showing up to some of the academy training sessions and matches and everything. So it's good to see him showing up and seeing what talent is coming up the pipe.
He has been super involved, which is great to see. Like, I mean, I would assume there's going to be a certain level where he's going to have to be involved or see what's out there with or what we have. But really, like, he from the get go has been doing a bunch of interviews, you know, with local media, has been at training sessions for youth stuff, has been going out to kids camps, doing a lot of stuff. And that's, you know, I mean, having that face out there, which, you know, I honestly, like, I kind of feel bad for our old head coach Vasquez. He like, he's a native Spanish speaker. And so I think he never, I mean, while he was fluent in English and spoke English well enough, I always felt like whenever I interacted with him that he was not super comfortable in English. And so like I think he avoided a lot of those sort of things that you get or you can get. And whereas Coach Jones, who also is, you know, I mean, a German speaker and an English speaker, I don't know, his personality is just so much more like relaxed but commanding and comfortable. And so he's going to show up, he's going to, like, you know, kids are going to see him and go like, wow, this guy seems nice and cool. And he's going to go on an interview, you know, with one of the local news channels and just really, you know, have all the right answers and just kind of seamlessly. He's not like, you know, struggling to answer. He's just kind of like, oh, you know, says what he thinks. And it's been refreshing.
Yeah. I've actually had the chance to chat with Vasquez a couple times too, and it seems as if, like you were talking about with the language barrier, there's I don't know, it seems like there's an extra step in that communication method, and so I think that's why it seems a little strained. But I understand what you're talking about from the conversations that he and I have had. Yeah. And so funny that you mentioned the job posting, because Brian and I actually have a friend who's a Union Omaha fan. As soon as that job opening announcement came up, he actually put his application in, and I won't say who it was, but he did put it in not as his health. He put it in like as like a joke profile going in there. So I can only imagine how many Central Valley like joke applications came through the system.
Yeah, I mean, they said they had, you know, hundreds of applications and had to filter through a lot of it. And so, you know, but they did, I mean, they did actually get a fair amount of high quality applicants from across the U.S. and from our valley as well. So, I mean, it was cool, like, actually, that they did take the process seriously. And some of the stuff that we've kind of doubted our front office on, it seemed like they actually, at least this job, they understood really well and have done it to a T, to like find somebody that not only has the kind of experience of I mean, of play, but the hope it translates, that has the personality to draw people and can really be kind of a leader for the team and the community. Um, the only piece that we kind of still have questions about is, I mean, he just doesn't have the head coaching experience. And so we'll see what happens with that. But yeah, I mean, I'm sure they had to work their asses off to like filter through, you know, people applying as like Steve Cherundolo or Lennon Donovan or whatever else, you know.
Well, Landon
Tornado.
Donovan does need a job right now.
I
That's for
mean,
sure.
he seems to be unemployed. I don't know. I've got a matching hairline for him, so
Well, Tyler, Lexington had an equally exciting signing day. Tell us your thoughts about it.
I think today they hit it out of the park. I know a lot of the fan base was a little nervous about whether or not Otis and Tate would be back. I mean, they were awesome for us last year. I mean, you talk about people that really were core to our offense. Those two names have to come to mind. And so, there's a lot of speculation. Are they going to get offers from other League One clubs that are going to pay them more? Are they going to go to championship? What are they going to decide to do, and where those offers going to come from? And I think there was a lot of wringing hands going on over the last little bit of time. And so I think that it was awesome that they chose to put them right there, right at the forefront, and put everybody at ease and be like, "We got them. They're back. It's okay. You're good." Because losing your goal scoring leader and your assist leader would be pretty terrible. Either one, but losing both would be extremely horrible. So now we know we got both. Everybody can just kind of tuck themselves in tonight and sleep easy and have dreams of several goals and a golden boot. Um, but no, it was awesome. And then getting Eric back. I mean, I was really impressed by Eric last season. Once he got his chance, you could really tell that Cesar was mentoring him. And I feel like Eric, once he got that start, he never let go of it. And I'm really excited to see what he does this year. He's a player that I'm very much a big fan of. And it was great to see them back and have that moment. And I think some people were thinking we were going to get a lot of names. Some clubs did that. They dropped a bunch of names all at once. It was just like, here's everybody. Whereas it looks like we're kind of trickling everybody out for various reasons. But, there were some nerves. Obviously we released who's not going to be back. And so people started kind of assuming, okay, well, maybe all these other people will be. But, still, you want to hear. You want it official and to be like, all right, we got these people. So I
Yeah.
think that it'll be nice going into the season, being able to see what all of those players can do. And I'm hopeful for Artes to just bang in some goals. I want him to do twice as many goals. I want him to just go crazy. But we'll see what happens.
I love the hype that immediately followed his announcement coming back to
Hmm.
Lexington with people already hyping up
Yeah.
the Golden Boot in 24.
Yeah.
Uh, oh, it's going to be fun to watch him because the way that he went off
Yeah.
in this past season, uh,
Hmm.
that every single defense is, oh crap, we got to guard him again.
Yeah, man. And this is not taking it away from any of the work the guys did last season, but we had quite a few games. We would have stretches where we'd struggle and stretches where everything would click and we were just doing great. And so just to think that he was so high in the standings for the Golden Boot race based on those inconsistencies that we had, I'm really, really hopeful that what we've got coming our way for this season is going to lock all that into place and get more consistency out of the whole team. And
Yep.
then that's really going to benefit somebody like him.
And who was the other player you mentioned?
We had Tate come back and then Eric Seau Gonzalez. Yeah, our
Yeah.
center back. Yeah.
So Eric, I feel like the most excitement from him is his potential.
Yes.
Um,
Yeah.
because yeah, he had some good performances in 23, but it's almost like as you're watching him, you can tell that he hasn't reached his ceiling, and I would even go so far as to say he's not even close to his ceiling. And if
No,
that's the way that he's performing now, and I'm saying that he's not close to his ceiling, he's got a bright future ahead of him.
I 100% agree. I feel like out of a lot of our players, I would even maybe say out of all of them, I think he's the player that was from like completely off the radar, like 100%. I mean, even whenever I was doing player profiles when we first announced everybody last year, he was one of the hardest people to get info about. Like we had a lot of really young players that didn't have a lot of tape or a lot of stats available. That's a little bit of a different story. He was playing at like essentially I think it was a community college, and the, we grab him and he comes in and he's just he really impressed me. I'm huge on Eric, and I think that this season, if we get some good competitiveness within the team and kind of like keep pushing him, I'm very excited to see where he goes. I think he has the potential to be maybe one of those like center backs that becomes like a club legend almost.
Yeah.
If he keeps that opportunity and keeps growing and keeps embracing those chances.
And speaking of defenders who have the potential to be a club legend, Kalen Fox, recent news
Hmm.
getting engaged. Congrats to
Yeah, yeah.
Kalen Fox, man. That's awesome news.
It's super exciting for him. I think they're out in like Oregon right now, like hanging out and stuff. I think he was at like the Nike facility today.
Yeah.
So he's just
I
kind of
saw
hanging out, enjoying the off season, getting
the
engaged.
the pictures of him and his fiance along the beach, and I was thinking, man, that's a hell of a vacation they're taking. But
I
yeah,
know,
congrats
right?
to Kalen for putting the ring on that finger. That's awesome.
Most definitely.
Yeah. And Tate Robertson coming back. That's a huge signing too, because that's another high
Yeah.
performer for Lexington.
Yeah, 100%. He was our assist leader. A lot of the season he, was either leading or in second or just kind of like up there in that upper echelon for assists and just the creativity he brings. And then he has goal scoring ability. He had 4 goals to his name and the versatility. He's just one of those players where when you look at him, you see that he can do a little bit of everything, but he can do it all well. It's not just like a jack of all trades, master of none. It's a jack of all trades that master of many, and that's the type of player that you really want around. Because we saw that last year when we had like little hiccups, like somebody was unavailable for a match, or we had, whatever issue we needed to work around, whether it be preparing for a team's style, he could slot into so many different positions. And there wasn't a single one of those that he played that he wasn't proficient at. So I think that that's going to be amazing for us to have in year 2. Besides, that the assist and the goals that he provides, just having somebody that allows for flexibility and
Yeah.
for us to kind of like turn on a dime if we need to. I think that's going to be a big deal, and a lot of people were really excited to see him back.
And I know that Charlie Mitchell was the captain for most of the season, right? Yeah.
Yeah.
So,
Yep.
but I like your description of Tate Robertson, um, the Swiss Army knife, like master of many things or whatever. Like he should put that in his LinkedIn profile or something.
Yeah, jack of all trades, master of most.
There you go.
Yeah, there we go. Yeah, you should see if you're listening to Tate. You probably not, but if you are, put that in there.
You're going to be his PR.
Hey, I'm here to hype them all up. You should all just get me on there, and I'll just sing their praises all day.
Well, we talked about Coach Jones. I keep wanting to say Jermaine Jones. I just want to say like Coach Jones from now
Yeah,
on. But
it's
we
weird.
talked about Coach Jones there at Central Valley Fuego. Now we can talk about Darren Powell there at Lexington. Uh,
Yeah.
Another huge signing here in League One. How are you feeling about that?
I feel really good about it. Whenever I learned that we were going to have him joining us, uh, I got a lot of excitement. A lot of people, they're not sure what to think because a lot of fans maybe don't know like the depth of his history with coaching and success. It goes pretty far back. He's been around college level championship. He's obviously been involved with MLS and academy systems. I think that variety of experiences is what's most exciting for me because it shows that he knows how to work with players at all stages and all levels of their development. Especially with us always touting that we really want to give our academy players chances and allow them to have opportunities to possibly join first team or work towards eventually maybe being part of our first team or going on in season opportunities elsewhere, but they develop here. And so I think that his involvement in that regard is going to be huge for us and our philosophy. And I also really like, his style. I looked into his style, looked into what he likes to run. And I feel like last season, obviously, we're going to have a different team this season for sure. Like half of our players are gone. We're going to get a whole new crop in. But I feel like last season, we were really successful when we went all gas, no brakes. When we were just like pedal to the metal, not many teams could hang. It was the games where we decided to just kind of like let off the gas and be like, let's park the bus and hang out. That's when we would get destroyed nonstop. But whenever we were just like take it to them every time, we were good. And from what I'm seeing, from what I'm reading, from what I'm watching, Darren Powell likes to play a little bit of that style, football. So, I think that it's going to be fun soccer to watch. I think that we're going to have some interesting games. I feel like with where I'm hearing we're going, we're going to have lots of scoring. We're going to have lots of excitement. And so I think that he's going to be a good fit for us. And I'm super excited to have him here.
Yeah, when Brian and I initially talked about Darren Powell being appointed as Lexington's head coach, we immediately described him as being handed the keys to the Lamborghini. And like you were saying,
Hmm.
all gas, no brakes. I mean,
Hmm.
this is a Lexington team that's going to be scary in 24. Like Darren Powell. So if you think about how Stockley's mindset was and combine that with
Hmm.
Darren Powell, I mean, the synergy between those two guys and what they hope to achieve at that club, there's going to be some fun times ahead in Lexington. And I fully agree with you. All gas, no brakes.
Yeah. I feel like, in this year, we have a little bit of an advantage because we've got our first year behind us. Year one, it was a little bit tricky figuring out who was going to come in, who was going to be a player. It's hard to lure in players whenever everything is kind of ethereal. You're telling them, here's a club. And then they're like, well, what do you have? And you're like, well, we got a club, and now everything's becoming much more concrete. We're saying like, hey, we did year one. Here's what it was like. Here's who we're bringing in. Here's who's staying. Here's a stadium that we're building. You get all those things and you start attracting more interest. And so I think that gives you a lot more leverage to build a team that you're really looking to build.
Mhm.
Whereas I feel like last season we had to ask a lot of our players to be like, hey, we need you to be flexible. Every single one of you has to be flexible, and we're going to be experimenting a lot. And that was nobody's fault. You have to do that. Given the situation and circumstances, you have to be willing to be flexible and experiment. But I think this year it'll be more of like, this is exactly what we want. This is who we have that's here that can do this, and this is what we're going to do.
And speaking of the stadium, we saw the renderings, we saw the announcement. Has anything
Hmm.
else been released lately?
No, they haven't released anything recently. They're working hard though. Like every time I drive by the area, just everything is different. They're just going like full force. So whenever they said that they were going to have it ready to go in August, everyone's like, "There's no way you can't have that ready by August." And I keep telling people, I'm like, with enough money, you can get anything done. And
Yeah.
I think they're proving that there's going to be something playable by August for sure. And I think maybe some people's minds here they're expecting like everything is going to be done, even the surrounding area.
Yeah.
And that's obviously not going to happen. It's going to be, we have a stadium ready to go, but it's coming along. It's looking
Yep.
good.
Brian can speak to the testament of things getting done quickly with construction and everything. So
Yeah. All it takes is money. I mean, the more money you throw at it, the easier it gets done. I'm telling you that right now.
well, Tyler gave a little bit of insight as to the style of Darren Powell. Ed, have you talked to Coach Jones enough to get a good insight as to what to expect from Fuego's style, or what should we expect from Fuego in 24?
No idea. I mean, to be honest, it's I've actually been kind of waiting for the signings to maybe reveal a bit of how he's thinking.
Yeah.
Because yeah, I mean, I'm trying to remember what he said in like the press conferences that he's done. Just I can't put my fingers on anything like concrete about like what he was looking for. So that's kind of was really what I was thinking. Well, if you go out and sign like you know this player or that player from another team that we kind of know, all right, I can see how they played and think of it that way. With the signings we've got, it's kind of like, yeah, it seems like you've got like a decent midfield, a little winger, pacey guys. So, but that could be you could build anything with that team so far. So, the one thing I did think about after, while, while, I was- while, while Tyler was talking was when you'd ask about rumors, the only rumor actually I had heard was of an outgoing. Uh,
Oh,
and so we've heard that Alexis Cerritos might be signing like the MLS whatever their developmental league is now called.
MLS Next.
Yeah, that he might be going there or to a contract for one of the teams. So that's the only one that we've heard rumor wise. And I mean, he was our top scorer last year. So it's kind of like, well, there's a big hole to fill, and whatever piece you plug into that kind of one may really give us a little bit of insight of what Jones is thinking.
Yeah, so Brian and I did hear some rumblings about some outbound players, uh, but I'm trying to find that message here really quick. Um, Yeah, so the biggest outbound players that Brian and I have heard um, are going to be some pretty big impactful players, but it seems like they're moving on to you know bigger clubs and everything like that, which you would hope to expect from clubs that are or players that are performing well at your club. At the same time, you want them to stick around and help progress the club and everything. Oh, it's just rough to see. Please tell me that Ant Man is coming back.
Yeah, so I don't know. Like I haven't seen that's a weird one too because like with the injury and you'd think it's got to be very hard to get really kind of recruited away because he spent all but like one game of last year on the bench, as an injury. And a knee injury shouldn't be too hard. Or I mean, he's not running about and having to do other things like a midfielder might, but jumping and cutting in the box still plays into how your knees work. So we haven't heard. I'm hoping. I've been trying to follow his Instagram and stuff like that enough to see like hints of like is he still here in Fresno or what's happening. And so like I know we'd seen not too long after the season ended, he was still here and was doing things with other players and people that were coming back to the Fresno area. So it seemed like maybe he was in the works, but we haven't heard and I haven't seen anything relevant on his Instagram.
Yeah, so Brian and I have heard some rumors about some of the players that are going to be leaving and some of the players who may be signed for next season. It sounds like Fuego, the direction they're heading is in a positive direction. We don't know who some of the incoming players are going to be, the outside signings or anything like that, but the players they're going to be retaining. Sounds like Fuego is headed in the right direction. They're keeping the players that were highly productive in 23 and especially with Coach Jones at the helm, that 24 should be a much better season than 23.
Rich, you want to tell me Francois Delis? Any rumors on him?
Ooh, that's a good one. So we can discuss this off camera.
Okay.
But in a general sense, speaking about the entire club as a whole, or the league as a whole, what was the biggest takeaway from your League One day one?
You know, I actually thought this was a fun thing because I don't remember it last year at all. And like 2 years ago when we were coming into the league, we were not even paying attention to this stuff. So it was cool to just to see like, okay, like the top players and, I mean, like there's the few guys that obviously that you've heard signing big contracts going on, leaving teams. But it was interesting to see like what teams were at least confident or maybe prioritizing. So like I was a little happy to look at Lexington's list and see that Amal Knight still was not signed. Because I love that dude, honestly. And I was like, I mean, I've said it even on our podcast. I was like, if I could steal a player off any other team, it'd be that dude. Like he seemed, I mean, I know we had an incident in Fresno, so I don't think he'd be inclined to come here, but as a player, he's like a guy I would love. So like, so then I started looking like, okay, well, who hasn't signed? And so like trying to pick through lists. And so that was just kind of fun, just kind of like to follow, even less worried about my own team, just still dreaming like, well, what forward could we steal off of, say like Noco or, whatever. Like,
I
so
love the fact that you're talking about bringing a Mall Night in, and then you immediately follow it up with that incident.
I,
That is brilliant.
I think I said it when it happened. I was just like, well, that kind of probably ruins any chance of him ever signing for Fresno. So, like,
I will
Looking
say
over,
Amal has. I will say Amal has told me lots that he loves Lexington. So
there you go. Yeah. And he loves those victory laps, lifting your son up in the air after wins too. So
yeah. My 6-year-old would probably fight anybody if they tried to take them all.
looking in the YouTube chat, we got Michael. Tyler, you got a fan club in the chats here. We got somebody
What?
celebrating the fact that you're on the pod tonight. So Man,
Oh, cool.
we got to have you on the show more often. We're going to have a fan base following you over here.
Yeah.
And
It's
then
just the mystique.
and then Soup Loops, I mentioned him earlier in the show. He's coming in here. He's saying, "I'll take Ant-Man and Tormenta. We are wide open."
Oh, hey, I'll be honest. I want to keep him. I'm not trying to give him away. I'm just saying, like, I don't know. We haven't heard anything. And actually, maybe because of the knee injury, it's harder for him to move away from us.
Yeah.
Huh?
Yeah. Yeah. There you
Good
go.
thinking.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. And speaking of Soup Loops, bringing in the Tormenta news. Tormenta seems to be going from with a clean slate here. What are you guys thinking about that one?
That was wild. That blew my mind whenever I saw that list come out.
Yeah.
Like that is a lot of talent that's just out
Yeah.
there. And so you start thinking, you're like, okay, well, who's going to see? Who's taking opportunity somewhere else? Who's maybe just gonna slide into another League One spot? But like, there's a lot of names that you heard over and over and over again over the past couple seasons. So if people aren't already talking to them, then I'd be very, very surprised because there's plenty of people that I would love to scoop up like a Kale, like
Yeah.
come here, come
Mhm.
this way, Minnesota Messi.
Yes.
Akale,
But
Ajay, Akindele,
yeah,
Bosua, TJ Bush,
hmm
Dengler, Heckenberg, Pablo Hara. Yeah, go down the list.
Sterling,
Dalton Knutson.
Yeah.
yeah, everybody. It's just
Seeing them hit the reset button. Um, I don't know how to react about Tormenta and what to expect because we don't know who they're going to be signing.
yeah.
Yeah, there's just so many question marks surrounding Tormenta.
Yeah. So I was gonna say, like, why do you think they dump so many? I mean, like, because that really is just like we're blowing everything up, and because it's not even just like unknown. It's like these guys are out. Damn.
Mhm.
Yeah.
I mean, unless they're
It
trying to
just
slash
like
budget or something. I don't know.
it almost feels like either just people were ready for a new opportunity and couldn't hold them back, or maybe it's also that like they won that championship, kept almost everybody, and then really their season like it kind of mirrored it. Like you really think, I mean, not taken away from like 2 years ago, they won, but still it was like by the hair of their chitty chin chin. You know what I mean? It was a lot of like just getting there, just getting it done and grinding. And props to them for it. Wins are wins, and they did it. But then I feel like last season it wasn't like they were insanely better. Obviously, but I don't know. It is weird. I agree with you.
Yeah, they've had that late push, the late season push the past couple seasons. So with the players that they will not have in the club this coming season, I don't know if they're going to have that same push, if they're going to need to have that push. We don't really know what to
Hmm.
expect from Tormenta.
No,
Yeah.
but I feel like
I
isn't
mean,
that
like,
Tormenta in general though? Do we ever really know what to expect with Tormenta? I mean, obviously with the players that they had, you knew that they were probably going to be good last year, and the year before.
mhm,
But I mean, I don't
mhm.
think anybody could kind of see the way that their season ever plays out.
Yeah.
That's a good point. Yeah. Um, and Richmond, it sounds like they announced a few signings today. It sounds like there's several more to come. Um,
Mhm.
should the fan base be worried about the fact that they're re-signing as many players as they will be?
Well, they did have a fantastic season. Oh wait, they finished below us, fuckers. I just want to throw that because, like, there were some digs that they had us plenty of times last year. So I look, I if my team was in last, right, I would not want to resign half the team
Yeah.
unless, like, you just think that the coach was the problem, or that, I mean, like, yeah, I don't know, that'd be scary to me. Which, look, last season we did something similar where the majority of our players were the same. Maybe we replaced like 6 or 7, and it's like the things that we struggled with in season 1 were worse in season 2. So, I mean, if I was a Richmond fan right now, yeah, I might be a little bit concerned with the direction.
Yeah, so Sawatsky definitely has a certain style that he has in place. Terzaghi is certainly a key component of that, and they announced him today. Do you think, Tyler? I mean, this is a perfect question for you. Do you think that Terzaghi will be able to keep up with Ates?
I, I think
Obviously,
he'll
there's gonna
need
be
some
some
help.
bias here.
I there is some bias, but I think I feel that our plan, like now that we know what we have, like we have a known quantity in Atas, and now we know it. I think the plan is like, okay, we need to build something where somebody like him can thrive, or we can have somebody that can maybe do that in conjunction with him. And I don't know that they did a good job of that in Richmond last year with Terzaghi to free him up to be able to do what he needs to do. I think he still has it. I think he's still a dangerous dude. Like, there's no question about it. It's just a matter of like, who are you going to put around him to make him successful, as opposed to just kind of like say, hey, go do that thing where you get a golden boot for us. And I don't know that they were super successful with that last year. And it's kind of like what Ed said. I would be like feeling a little weird after last
Yeah,
season bringing back that many people, because I know there was a ton of frustration. And I'm saying that as somebody who gets really attached to players. Like an apologist for a lot of players. A lot of times I'll admit it fully. A lot of times I'm like, it's okay, this had a bad game, and they're like, yeah, they gave up like 40 goals. I'm like, it was a bad game, it's okay. But even still, you have to be real and think like, okay, but what's the plan? If you're going to bring back all these guys that just came off of a really, really rough season, what
yeah.
are we going to do with who we're bringing in that's going to make that dynamic completely different? Because that's what you have to focus on now, is like, how does the dynamic change, even if the players don't?
And that's an interesting point that you bring up because they did bring in Nil Vinyals, so he's going to be servicing a lot of the um, those opportunities for Terzaghi. Obviously,
Yeah.
Zaka Moran is going to be servicing a lot of those too. Nathan on a huge presence there on defense. Dakota Barnathan, a huge presence there as well. Simon Fitch, huge presence there on defense. Joago Miero. I feel like this guy had a lot of potential in the incoming
Hmm.
season for 23. Didn't exactly, I'll be entirely honest, I don't think he exactly lived up to that
Yeah.
potential, but there's still the promise of that potential heading into 24. So is there a bright side for Richmond?
I mean, I think so. I think, like I said, it just comes back to like, who are you going to bring in to boost potential? Because like me saying that, it's surprising to keep players that cause so much strife last season. It's not really that they caused it. I guess it's more that something wasn't clicking, something wasn't in the machine. There was a cog that wasn't operating right, or that was just not there altogether. And so maybe you just find those couple players that just change the whole feel of the team and the way it operates. And then those players, they're able to shine. And, that's possible. It could be a complete turnaround, because they had a complete turnaround from the prior season, right? They,
Yeah.
they went from doing awesome to not so awesome. And so that could happen this year and just flip again. And it just kind of depends on who you have that can bring out the best, between each other as teammates, and can create the right vibes. And they can. It just,
Yeah.
we have to see.
Yeah, I mean, I give it a hard time, but it's like they could have a very solid core that doesn't have to like learn how these players interact with each other. Their coach knows them. They know each other. You develop those automatisms of knowing where each other are on the field, and so all that sort of language doesn't need to be built up. And so if they are trimming off the parts that didn't work and bringing in some good players that do work for them, then it's like, yeah, there's a lot less learning curve, and so they could quickly go from being a team that finished 11th to a team that goes back to being kind of like where I think we've always known that Richmond name to be, at the top of the table type stuff. So
And I think that that's a perfect point because just earlier, I think yesterday, Alex over at League One Updater and I were chatting, and I was telling him, the my projections for next season, and I was telling him that I think Richmond's going to do better. Obviously, they were in 11th. There's only pretty much
Hmm.
only one direction they can go in 24, but like you were saying, Ed, they have that 1 year of chemistry under them. They have that familiarity with the coaching system, with Sawatsky's system. Um, the players know each other very well. So like you were saying, if you trim those the edges of that tree and you're able to focus on the branches that are going to lead you to the best, opportunity for success, this could be a bright future for Richmond as well.
I mean, I don't want it to be, but I mean, look, I hope all your teams are terrible next year, and then my team does better. But but yes, I mean, from an unbiased perspective, they might have something really good, just bubbling under the surface.
Yeah.
So.
And we saw some interesting signings from Charlotte. We saw a lot of signings out of Ford Madison. Brian, I gotta shift it over to you since you and I are the Union Omaha fans. I gotta shift it over to you since you're going to be speaking for the Union Omaha population here. How are you feeling after League One Day One?
Yeah, so obviously Omaha retained 42% of their roster. Those stats are coming from John Morrissey at USL Tactics as well. So shout out to him for that. But they retained a lot of big names. I mean, names you're used to seeing in the league, and names you heard a lot last season. Obviously, Rashid Nuhu, a big one coming back. We know he signed a multi-year contract. So Dion Akoff out on the wing is a really big re-sign for Omaha. I thought for sure he was going to be one of those dudes that would be picked up in the championship or trying to be picked up by another League One team. So really big to see him. Also, big striker up top, Steven Dos Santos. I know he really came into his own towards the middle to end of last season, specifically when Omaha went on the big run to finish out the season. But yeah, I mean, guys like that, and another one, Lagos Kunga, is another huge one that I feel like is going to get a ton more minutes, and deservedly so. With the little bit of time that he got this last season, he really kind of proved himself. So excited to see him as well. I mean, there's other names that are here too. But I mean, just Omaha retaining a core for a team that won the Shield last season. That's huge. So a lot to be excited about. And obviously with the return of Coach of the Year, Dominic Casiato as well. I mean, this has been a super successful day if you're a Union Omaha fan, as far as I'm concerned.
So to go off of that, are you scared at all by the omission of Noe Meza?
Yeah. Obviously you lose a guy with, well, we don't know if we'd lost him or not. But you don't re-sign a player that pivotal to your team right away. It hurts a little bit and it makes you kind of concerned, but at the same time, I also feel like he's probably getting more looks by some teams upper division wise. I don't see him as a guy who's going to go for a lateral move, so it would have to be, I'm sure, a big lucrative contract for him to make a lateral move to another League One side. But if I was a betting man, I'd put money on he was going up to get a chance in championship.
Yeah, and it's funny that you mentioned Lagos because on social media, Noe posted just recently that he was training today with Lagos down there in Arizona. So it's good to see those guys connecting and doing some training together in the off season.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, two guys that really have that same kind of motor. They play very similarly. I think Lagos is a little bit quicker than Noe. He's a little bit taller too, so he's probably got the legs to outrun him a little bit. But both really smart forwards that attack really well and kind of know where the space is to be able to get shots off or to create for other players, which I think is going to be huge in this league because these defenders kind of key in on those key guys. So somebody like a Steven Dos Santos or a Noe Meza, I mean, that that leaves opportunities open for some of these lesser known names to get out there and do their thing. And I feel like he is one of those guys.
And Lagos is one of those guys that has a unique vision of the field, and the way that he was able to thread some of those passes for some of the attackers throughout the season when he was starting, when he was on the field, really gives a good opportunity for 24 to be a breakout season for him.
hmm And I mean, if you go back and watch any of his tape from USL League Two with the Menace, I mean, you could tell he has that motor and he has those smarts, which is why Omaha picked him up. Other than the fact that Omaha and Des Moines seem to be pipelines for each other, because Omaha has taken a few players from the Menace. Probably won't see that too much anymore when Des Moines makes the jump up to championship. It might be reverse of what it is now.
Yep.
But that's something cool that that you get in these lower leagues. You don't have quite as much I don't want to say competition because that's not the right word, but you don't have as much disdain for your opponents. So, or
Yeah.
teams above you. So, sending guys up is just something that happens, which is awesome to see. And that's only going to breed great things for the league.
And the other benefit of re-signing Lagos, that dude is a PR gold mine. If you have ever had the chance to have a conversation with him, that dude is genuine, wears his heart on his sleeve, is so incredibly positive. So to have him as an opportunity for community outreach and to be in promotional videos is a huge get for Union Omaha.
Mm. Yeah, and just with some of the things, guys that we don't know about too. I mean, there's a lot of big names on that list that I feel like are probably going to be moving up. Shaft Brewer Jr. being one of those, Joe Brito being another one, um, and then like guys like Luis Heel, played on the national team, everything like that. You wonder if he's just holding out to see if some better offers or something come in, which I don't fault him at all for that. He's a quality player that I feel like would fit anywhere.
Yeah.
But yeah, a lot of big names still out there for Omaha that we don't know what their status is. So, and the same with a lot of the other teams here in League One as well. So it'll be interesting. This is really cool that we did League One day one. But I feel like there's still quite a bit more news that's going to be coming out, and it's going to be hard and fast until the start of the season, which really isn't that far away either. So,
Yep. And I'm glad that we have both Tyler and Ed here, because the next topic, I don't want to take you guys too far over the hour mark here, but the last topic I want to talk about is probably a huge one that's on a lot of people's minds in the League One community, the League One Cup. What are we thinking?
I'm excited. I like the FA Cup. EFL Cup's okay, in England. So like the idea that you have something like that, and it's a little bit weird in a league this small, but the idea is good and can grow. But I also am a big fan of like Open Cup. So we'll
Yeah.
see. As long as it doesn't mess up the Open Cup, I guess the idea of having it could be kind of cool.
Tyler, what are you
Yeah.
thinking?
I don't know. I mean, like I think everybody had the sentiment. It would have been really cool to see the championship involved with it. That would have been kind of nice to get some more opportunities to get some playtime between the two levels and see how that all shakes out. That would have been a lot of nice drama and fueled a lot of really great content. That would have been so
Yep.
good. So
A lot of
I
rivalry.
yeah. So, and I get, there's more stuff behind the scenes that has to work for all that to come to fruition, but I feel like it loses a little bit of its bite. It's gonna be fun. It's fine. Like people that just are like, I hate it. Why are we doing this? Okay, I get it, but like it's more soccer. But whatever. I don't really care what format it takes. If I get to see my team play more, then that's good for me. But I do think it takes some bite out of it, that it's not like, oh, we're going to be able to test ourselves against championship sides a little bit more often and see how that all goes down, or see, I think it would be fun because I feel like with League One teams, a lot of us would be like, League One all the way. Let's take on championship and see what happens. And I think that a lot of championship sides would be the same way. They'd be rooting championship and just, I don't know. I think that would have been so much fun for the fan bases if that had worked out. But um, I don't hate it. I like I said, more soccer, more seeing my team play. Um, yeah, it's fun.
So the cash prize that's involved with League One Cup, it sounds like
Hmm.
each club within League One has committed to contributing enough money to this potluck, um, that teams are going to be taking it seriously. This is not going to be a joke of an in-season tournament. This is going to be one where there's a substantial prize at the end of the season. And so
Yeah.
for fans who are thinking, this is just a distraction from the regular season, no, this is a legitimate chance to improve your club, from a monetary
Hmm.
aspect. You may not be in the record books like you would be with like a star over your crest, at the end of the season, or with having some extra hardware in your cabinet, but the money coming in the bank, that talks.
Yeah, I mean, it sure does.
Yeah. I mean, you do love that.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, it's great. It is a tournament during the season. Um we'll have to see how it shakes out. Definitely don't want to diminish anything with the Open Cup with such, I mean, for how long the Open Cup's been going on and everything like that. You would hate to see something like this kind of put a damper on anything with that. I don't think that's their intention at all. Um, but it's cool. It still gets us up to the probably gets us up to the same amount of games as we had last season, I would assume. I don't think they're going to put too many more miles on the players as is, or make the season any longer than it already is, because I mean, it already takes up 9 out of the 12 months. So um, no, I mean, I like it. I think there's some stuff to iron out. I think this is just the first iteration of it. I would expect in years to come, you do see championship get involved in it. Um, and it wouldn't surprise me if by the time championship gets in it, this is kind of a precursor to maybe us getting a promotion and relegation in the USL. So um, it'll be cool this first season, and we'll kind of see how it goes after this. But I would expect it to only grow, just like the USL is.
Hmm. And if you have not received your club's 24 schedule, reach out to your favorite Union Omaha fan, because they were accidentally sent their 24 schedule. So you get a sneak peek into what to expect from your 24 schedule, as well as the League One Cup schedule. And you can get a sneak peek into what to expect from the upcoming season. Um, and they'll be more than happy to share that said schedule with you.
Yeah, I kind of started talking there and totally forgot that that wasn't like sent out to every single person. So I was like, try to sidestep that a little bit.
You did, but I didn't. Well, guys, I don't want to hold you over too far over past this hour mark. I really appreciate you guys joining the show. It's been a pleasure speaking with you guys. We love having you guys on the show. We certainly plan on having you guys rejoin again in the future. So thank you very much. Anything you guys want to say to your fan bases before we cut off the show?
Come out. Hey, to be real, like, I mean, back in our old Fuego days, even our Fresno FC days, the years before COVID, and kind of like the death of the Foxes, I mean, our average attendance was, 4,000, 4,500, stuff like that. And, I mean, we're a team now struggling to get 500 to 700 out to matches. And it's a hell of a lot more fun, being in the stands when it's full and when people are, paying attention. You got the drums going and everything. It's a lot more exciting environment, a lot more intimidating, and it's what I think our community deserves, even if the team hasn't quite lived up to it yet. And so I want to help. I hope we get there in the stands so that the team gets there on the field.
Tyler?
I mean, I'll just mirror a lot of what Ed said. I mean, it's kind of the same deal. And I think if any Lexington fans are listening, like I'm hearing it from a lot of places that like this year is it's going to be good. So I'm very excited. Hopefully soon we'll start to see why. But no matter what, we last season was a blast. Like even in the tough games, it was fun just having that like community feel. But then we got our stadium coming. So for anybody that was here that just kind of felt like this was a fleeting thing, it's absolutely not anymore, so you might as well get involved and just embrace it. We have an awesome fan base here, plenty of UK fans that are diehard, so I'd love to see a lot of them kind of switch that diehard, not switch, but embrace LSC with that same level of diehard fandom. And I hope that we can get that stadium rocking because it's going to be a good year.
Cool. Brian, this is your chance to speak to Union Omaha Nation, Buhos Nation.
Oh, I mean, yeah, just I mean, it's the same thing. Just come out, support. That's really the key to it. There's the profit margins are probably not very high for a lot of teams in this league. And attendance is probably their biggest moneymaker. So, in order for the league to continue, you got to make it out to games, and just come have fun. I mean, that's really what it's all about. And I know around here, at least, the weather's gotten a lot colder, and it's only going to get worse before the season starts. So, when the season eventually gets here and the weather's nice, you got to come out and enjoy it, because around here you never know. It switches. Like, we're going to have a 60-degree day here towards the end of this week, and then next week it's looking like mid to low 30s. So
Yep.
you gotta get out there while it's there and go have some fun. But it's pretty much all I've got for Omaha fans too. So
Cool. All right. Well, we want to thank Tyler for joining us. You can find him on Twitter at Crane Kicks Lex. Ed, you can find him on El Fuego Pod. Make sure to follow both of these guys. Follow their progress throughout the seasons. They cover the clubs in such a great way. So make sure to follow those guys. Another thing that we want to shout out is Alex over at League One Updater.
Yeah.
Make sure you are following his transaction tracker at his website. So look up League One Updater and follow his transaction tracker, because he's doing a great job over there of giving you all of the insights for every single club in League One, name, position, whether they've signed, whether they're incoming, retained, outgoing. I mean, everything. This guy has organized it perfectly for everyone to perfectly understand it ahead of the 24 season. So get out there, follow Tyler, follow Ed, follow El Fuego Pod, follow Crankix Lex, follow League One Updater, follow all of your League One independent coverers. Just get out there and just get involved. So we love all the action that we're seeing here in League One, and we can't wait to speak more on it ahead of the 24 season.
Thanks for having us, guys.
Yeah,
Bye, guys.
appreciate it.